Welcome back.
Hi guys.
We're excited. This is our first video episode.
Yes, this is an extremely special episode for a lot of reasons.
Yes.
So if you're watching us via video,
You'll be able to find us on YouTube.
Yes, YouTube and anywhere you get your video podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
We have also reached a milestone. This is our 20th episode. So exciting. And that's why we wanted to do it on the 20th episode to kind of celebrate that milestone. So we were like, what's better than video?
Yeah.
And if you couldn't tell, this is our Halloween special.
Spooky season is here.
Spooky season.
So you already know it's spooky season, and we just have to do a spooky episode.
Of course. Come on now.
It only fits right, you know.
Yes.
We have to do it.
Especially with our family history.
Mm-hmm.
So the special that we're wanting to do is all spooky stories.
Yeah.
So today we're kind of talking about things Eli and I have personally experienced, and maybe we'll touch a little base on what our family has experienced, because
let me tell you, we got some stories.
We definitely got some stories to tell. And if it wasn't quite obvious, it's all to do with the paranormal.
Ooh.
Spooky. Also, I forgot to say in our milestones, this is also our first episode with our new name.
Yes,
and it's
we
so exciting.
Are the Soul Sisters.
Soul Sisters. So anyway, without further ado.
Oh, and now you'll be able to see us, because every single time on the episodes. Sorry, I did not mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Because whenever you just went like this, it reminded me every single time. For those of y'all who have heard us in our podcast, every single time we go like we're always going like this.
Because we always say that we're mentally connected, because we think so much alike. We're always thinking of the same thing. We finish each other's sentences, and like whenever there's something we need to explain that we cannot explain, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, without even having to say it.
Exactly.
If that even makes sense.
Yes. So this is definitely super exciting, because it's such a different experience having to, see us and our body languages, our facial expressions combined with what we're saying.
Right.
So definitely make sure you check us out on video. If your cup of tea is just audio podcast, just still go for it. It's still going to be available. We're not taking that away. We're adding that extra feature, which I definitely recommend.
Yes.
Do you want to do the honors of doing the first one?
Okay. I'll do the first one. I'll do the very first time it's ever happened to me. So,
cue the spooky music.
The Michael Myers song comes out of my head.
No, that was so off, but it plays in my head.
Okay, so whenever we were younger, we lived in an apartment complex. Dulce and I lived together. So it was me, my sisters, my parents, Dulce and her mom. And there was one night. So it was, I believe it was a 3-bedroom apartment, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so in one room, I shared it between me and 2 of my sisters. We had 2 twin beds put together. And since I was very little, I used to kind of fit in the little crack between both beds. That was just my sweet spot. Why? I don't know. Anyways.
No, that spot hits different.
It does.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. So it was super late at night, and I was already pretty much asleep, and I had actually felt something kind of tug at my socks. The thing is, it didn't even feel like hands. It felt like straight up nails, like someone's long ass nails. And I was already kind of scared when I felt that, so I kind of pulled my legs a little bit closer up to me, and then I did it again. And then I moved my legs up even more, and then I did it again. And then I like curled up my legs. I was like a little bolita, okay? I was like in a whole fetus position, and it didn't do it anymore. But, and this was in the middle of summer, just keep in mind, okay? And I had to go to the restroom, so I woke up my sister. And she was like, just go to the restroom. I told her, I'm like, no, like, I'm scared. I was probably like, maybe like 4 years old.
That's young.
Yeah. And I like remember this vividly.
Right. I mean, how can you forget something like that?
I know. And so I had asked my sister to go with me. She was like, no, just go by yourself. And I told her, like, no, I was scared. And she was mama bear, so she was mom number 2. So she always took care of me. And she was like, all right, fine. So then she got off the bed. As soon as she got off the bed, she got scared. I hadn't even told her what had happened, but she was scared. I don't know why she was scared. So then she woke up my other sister, and my other sister was scared. And I'm like, why the hell are both of y'all scared? I know I'm scared, but why the hell are y'all scared? Anyways, so we were all trying to go to the restroom, but I didn't want to step on the floor because I felt like whatever was like tugging at my socks was like under the bed or some shit like that. So I told my sister, I'm like, can you carry me? She was like, what? No, like, just go. And I was like, no, I don't want to step on the floor. Anyway, she carried me to the restroom. And all 3 of us, we were like terrified in the restroom. And we all went back, and I like walked back. But when I tell you the carpet felt ice cold in the middle of summer. The carpet, like, I understand like if it was a floor, but the carpet, how the hell does a carpet feel cold?
Right.
And I don't know. That was like the scariest one.
Wait, but more happened. How about explain a little more how, because you only said one time they were playing with your feet and your socks, and then you went up one. Mm-hmm. But remember, like, it happened like
a total of 3 times. Like, at first, like, estaba más estirada, mm-hmm. and then like it tugged at my feet, and then I pulled it in closer, and then it tugged at my socks again. And like, I don't even know, like, I was just so scared to like even look. But right. like it did it like 3 times, tugging at my socks. That's like, terrifying. I just felt somebody just go like it went, grabbed my toe, and then like slowly también at that, like this. To this day, I do not sleep with socks on. Ever. Ever. No more.
Traumatized.
Yeah. No.
Heck no.
Hell no. That wasn't the only thing we ever experienced in that apartment alone.
But was that the first thing that you ever experienced, like, generally speaking?
That was the first time I noticed it.
Okay.
Because I remember...
And you said you were as young as 4?
Mm-hmm. Because I also remember in that same apartment. Now, this is trippy because I actually didn't know about that. I didn't actually realize this until a few years back.
Okay.
So, I remember your mom saying this not that long ago. Or you bringing this up not that long ago. That you and your mom used to hear like a little kid bouncing a ball upstairs, because we lived on the lower level, on the first floor, mm-hmm. and it was only 2 floors in that apartment complex.
Right. And when Eli had brought it up, because we talk about spooky stories all the time, because like we said, we have stories, and not too long ago we were talking about it, and she had told me how she had realized that basically she knew of a person that lived in the 2nd floor back then, thinking someone did live there, and come to find out no one lived there. And when she brought up a kid, I was like, oh yeah, like, was that the time, like, whenever you heard all those stuff, was it after the kid moved out? Because I could have sworn my mom and I also heard, we could, okay, if you live in apartments, especially in the 1st floor, you know that there's a difference between adult footsteps and kid mm-hmm. footsteps. Right. And what we would hear is kid footsteps, and we would hear a ball bounce, because it's a very, very distinctive noise. Mm-hmm. It sounded like those balls that we use for dodgeball.
Yeah.
So it's like
the bouncy
rubber.
Ones. Yeah.
It was like a bouncy ball, but it wasn't one of those tiny ones. It was like a dodgeball ball.
Yeah.
Dodgeball. Dodgeball ball. Dodgeball. And yeah, I remember that we would complain because it was like so late. Like we were already sleeping, and then it would wake us up because it was just so loud, like running and then running with the ball. So it's like if they were playing basketball, running and bouncing. So you would hear footsteps and a ball at the same time.
I would never hear that. I never heard that. And we were like down the hallway from each other.
Right. So that's what we would hear.
Yeah. And I remember my dad actually brought that up one time. And he was telling me that your mom actually asked my dad, because my dad was a maintenance man at those apartment complex, right? And she had asked my dad, like, can you like talk to them and ask them to like keep the noise down or something like that. And he actually didn't know nobody was up there, right, at that time. So he went to one of his coworkers to check to see like if the office could somehow like intervene, and they themselves tell them to like keep the noise down. And they actually told my dad, like, that unit is vacant, like there's nobody up there.
Right.
Now here is the creepy part. I specifically remember playing with a little boy that lived upstairs. To tell you, I cannot remember his face, but I remember it was a little boy, and I remember his tricycle. It was one of those plastic tricycles, the ones with like the 3 colors. I remember the tricycle too.
And then the creepiest part to me, you said you would play with him inside the apartment, right?
Yeah, inside our
inside
house.
Our apartment.
Yeah, I used to play with him inside the apartment. And my dad actually told me this one time, that I was in our room and I was playing. And it was like I was having a full-on conversation while I was playing with somebody. And I was the only one in the house. My dad was too. And everybody was like, all my sisters were outside playing or something. But he said that he heard me talk with somebody. So he kind of like checked in with me. And then he was like, ¿Con quién estás hablando? And I was like, oh, con mi amigo Necio. Like.
Well, that was his name?
Yeah, Necio. Like.
No, ma'am.
I've actually like looked into this, dude. Like I've tried to like see if like anybody has like passed away
in that apartment.
Yeah, but like nothing came up.
Interesting. And how old were you when that happened?
I was like, around that same age.
So around 4. It was probably all around the same area, around the same time.
Yeah, but like I didn't know that it wasn't a real little boy.
That's the part that you didn't find out until how long ago?
I think like maybe 3 years ago. So I brought it up to my dad, and then he was like, oh yeah, I remember I walked in on you. You were talking to somebody. And you're saying you were playing with your friend. And I'm like,
did he get like creeped out?
He did, but like he kind of just like brushed it off, because that's not the first time my dad's experienced anything like that.
Boy,
dude, okay, the morning after the thing happened with my socks, I was still kind of like creeped out. I really thought it was like one of my other sisters, or maybe it was like you or something like that. Somebody else in the house, right? Yeah. So the following morning, we were all getting ready for school, and I started asking everybody, like, did you come into the room and pull my socks? And everybody was saying no, no, no. My dad actually told me not that long ago too, around the same time that we were having the same conversation about the little boy. He was telling me that day after everybody had gone to school, he was home, and he said that he was in his room and he felt something there.
It gave me goosebumps. Every time we talk about this, I get so many goosebumps.
Like, and he had told me he was doing laundry, and he had felt something in the room with him. This was in his room, by the way. This wasn't in my room. But he felt something in his room with him while he was doing laundry. And he kind of got the sense that it might have been like the same thing that was messing with me that night prior. So he like straight up said to basically leave me alone, and unless it's going to bring anything good to this family, to leave the house.
And he said it out loud.
He said it out loud. And after that, we didn't feel anything anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I also do believe that if an entity is not strong enough that you just saying you're not welcome in this home, if you have nothing good to bring, you are not allowed to be here, please leave us alone. They will leave.
Yeah,
they will leave you alone.
So I think for the most part that kind of thing works. And I think it did work in this instance,
right?
But my dad has experienced a lot of things.
How much time do we have? Because with him, it would be like we would need a whole series just on his experiences.
And the thing is, every single time we've experienced... Oh, no, I'm about to lie with that. Just kidding. Take that back. I was about to say that all the things we've experienced has always been only at my dad's house, but never mind.
Well, personally, no. I have personally never had anything happen at your dad's house. There have been instances where we were at Eli's dad's house because we used to spend a lot of summers there, like full summers. We would
go 3 months.
Yeah, back when we had full 3 months. And in those 3 months, they, like Eli and her sisters, would experience stuff, like different things. And there were instances where they were seeing things actively as we were talking, and they would literally be like, Dulce, there's a shadow over there, look. And I would obviously look the opposite direction, because I'd be like, where is it, to know where it is, to know where not to look. So let's say it was in that corner of the room, I would tilt my happy ass to that corner of the room and be like, I'm okay looking over here. And luckily, not that I can recall, I don't think I ever felt like scared in that apartment. I'm sure there were certain nights where I would be like, no, you know what? Yeah. Because every time I would go to the restroom in the middle of the night, I always had Janet with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that whole freaking hallway, especially the very last room, freaked me the fuck out.
And no one ever slept there, right? We only slept in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way that apartment was, it was like a big ass U. And like on this side of the U, in the very corner, or like at the very top, was her dad's room. And then you would come out, it was the living room, then the kitchen, and then you would kind of curve. And on the other side, it was like the guest rooms and guest bathroom. And so we were on like opposite sides of the apartment.
Right.
Like us, the girls from my tío. And yeah, y'all would experience some shit, y'all would see some shit, and y'all would always be like, look. And I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Because one thing I will always say, and I stand by this, I feel like I am very protected. I feel like I am extra protected because of something that happened to me. And I guess this is where I will tie in the very first thing I ever experienced. So I think it was also around the same time that you experienced your first stuff. I was also about 4 years old, maybe even younger, anywhere from 2 to 4, around that age. I used to see duendes. And I know they're very, very common in the Mexican household. You know, it's a common thing. But because I was so little, they used to scare the hell out of me. Like, I'm talking, I would be in a doctor's office like once every 2 weeks because of how scared I would get. It would mess me up. Like, my nervous system would kind of mess up, and it would cause me like digestion problems. Me empachaba mucho. I know that's not a very common thing in other cultures, so I don't really know how to say empachada. But like I basically wouldn't be able to poop. You get kind of like constipated. Yeah. Your stomach just hurts. The little poop that you are able to do is like
como bolas de chivo.
Right. Like your intestines are just not right. And we call it empachado. And so there's a lot of people that te pueden sobar y te lo pueden quitar. So my mom had this lady that she would always take me to. Like, we were her regulars porque siempre estaba empachada, because I would get really scared all the time. So basically how it was is I would always see them behind doors. So like, let's say a door is wide open, it's going to be like hitting the wall, right? So it's going to be by the wall. And let's say you come into the room, you're ready to close the door, you close it. And so you see that space. That's where I would always see the duendes. And more often than not, it was always late at night. And so it was always dark. And I think that's why I'm so terrified of the dark now. Yeah, so every time the door would be open, I would go into a room, close the door. They would be right there. And they were these like small figures. I'm talking about maybe the size of two hands put together. So maybe like a foot. Mm-hmm. And the weird thing, if anybody knows maybe the meaning of this, let me know. They were always in a formation. Like they weren't just there. They were always in a formation of like how bowling pins are. So like the first one, so like a triangle. Yeah. The first one, and then like 3, and then like more. But
it was like the first one was in the front.
Right. Okay. And then like the next 3 were in like the next row, and then the next like 5 are in the next one. And so eventually it created a triangle. And so they were always in a triangle formation, and they were always floating. So there were these like small figures floating in a triangle formation. Always. Like I said, I was very young, so I don't remember too vividly, as far as I don't remember if they ever spoke to me. I don't know if they ever did anything other than just stand there and float. But the only thing I can remember is just them floating. And they would scare me. And like I said, I would get so sick. My mom would have to take me to the doctor. Sometimes I would have to get medicine. Siempre me tenían que sobar para quitarme la empachada. But it got to the point where my mom was like, okay, this is not normal, because it wasn't going away. Because like we've said before, we come from a very, very religious family. We are very strong in our faith. And so my mom would do, blessings on me. Siempre rezábamos antes de irnos a dormir, el rosario, or like special prayers. My mom has always been very strong and advocate about doing like protection prayers for, over me. My grandparents are very devoted, and they always prayed over me, but it wasn't going away. So they were like, okay, what we're doing is not enough. What else do we need to do? And so obviously my mom would get super concerned because, like this isn't going away. My daughter is literally getting sick. Like it was affecting me physically. So she reached out to our local priest. We went to church and she was like, hey, can I talk to you? And the funny thing is that our local priest was an exorcism priest. Anyone who knows about Catholic faith knows that priests do exorcisms, but not every priest is allowed to exercise. That sounds so funny. Not every priest can hit the gym, okay? No, you know what I mean. Yeah. Not every priest is allowed to do exorcisms. They have to have a special permission by the Pope. And I'm not sure how they acquire that. I don't know if they have to do special classes. I'm sure they do, because they have to be educated on it. But I'm not too sure on the steps. But nonetheless, they have to be approved. It's not just any priest can do exorcisms. So the priest that was at our local church was able to do exorcisms. So my mom went to him and kind of told him what was going on, and that she was concerned because like they're not going away. She's getting sick. What do I do? Like looking for guidance, because she had done everything she could in her power and nothing was changing. So the priest kind of asked her questions to kind of like get some background, trying to get some information as to like maybe we can figure out why it's happening. Because I think the first thing is when you have a problem, you have to know the why, right, to be able to move on. And so he just kept asking her questions, and I forgot how that came into the conversation. I don't know if he asked specifically or if she just told her. But come to find out, my mom had gone to get her cards read, like tarot cards. And so they ended up getting on that topic of card reading. And again, if you know, in the Catholic Church, that is seen or is viewed as very evil, because you're not supposed to know the future. All that is just for like God to know. But also, a lot of the people in Mexico that are known to do that are also known for doing dark magic. And so, brujos y brujas, that's a very common thing in Mexico. And I'm not saying they're all like evil or do evil stuff, but a lot of them, if not most of them, do. At least more so también back then. I feel like back then it was a lot more dark. And so when my mom told the priest that she had gotten her cards read because, she was just curious, wanted to know what the future held, whatever, the priest actually got really mad y la regañó. And like he was basically like, why would you do that? That's like, we're against that. You shouldn't do that. Now look what happened. Ahora, ¿quién está pagando las consecuencias? Tu hija, she's getting sick, you know. My mom told me that, like, he gave her an earful, like, which is going in on, you shouldn't have done that, you know better.
Right.
But you did what you did, like, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people may say, bullshit, like, card reading is not bad, it's not evil, like, that couldn't have caused it. The reason why I truly believe it deep in my soul is because after that, he did a special prayer due to the why, and it completely went away. So of course I'm gonna believe it's true, you know. To each their own. If you don't believe that's what it was, that's fine, but that's what we think it was, you know. And so my mom was like, okay, like, I'm so sorry, I know I shouldn't have, but it was a weak moment of mine, I did it, you know. Just help me. And of course he did. I believe I was there with my mom, or if not, she took me back, like, after they had that conversation. But I know I saw the priest, and he did a special prayer on me, which was an exorcism prayer. Of what kind, I don't know, because I'm sure there's multiple different ones, but he did some sort of exorcism prayer in Latin, like right then and there, you know, cuando vas a la iglesia y te bendicen. Me bendició. Y luego también nos dio una card. You know those cards that we all have with, like, an image on one side, a prayer on the other?
And it's, like, laminated and everything?
Yeah. So we had one of those. I don't remember the image. I want to say it was the one of the two little kids and the angel on top of them. Like, and they're walking a bridge.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that one.
Yeah.
I want to say it was that one. And it was a special prayer on the back. It wasn't like the one that it always has. I want to say it was a different one. And I want to say it was in Latin.
Okay.
And then he gave us special salt and special oil that my mom had to use to cook in. That was also had a special exorcism prayer done on it. And he was like, you know, you have to use this until it's done when you cook, especially for the food that she is eating, me. And then he gave us holy water, but one that had been done with an exorcism prayer, not just a regular blessing.
Gotcha.
And so I think because of all of that, I have had a special protection on me. I always say I have a special shield that just protects me. That's how I've always seen it. And I think it was due to that, because I was blessed in a special type of way. It wasn't your typical, like, you know, vaya con Dios. Yeah. It was like an exorcism thing. And I feel that really changed my life as far as when it comes to, like, paranormal. I feel like on the other realm, I'm protected from evil. Because, like I said, you guys have always experienced things around me. My mom has experienced things my whole life around me. When I was with my son's dad, he experienced some shit. I never have.
What's wild to me is the fact that, like, because I totally believe you, but the part where you've told me before, where other people have experienced it while you're with them, and specifically whenever you told me about the time about where you were with your baby daddy and he was having, I don't know, some, like, night terror or something like that, and all you did was just go like this, and, like, he calmed down. Right. And the thing is, because it was in that particular apartment, and that particular apartment that you lived in was another freaking story. I'm gonna go into detail on that, because that apartment was crazy. But the one Eli's talking about, for sure. So my son's dad used to have, I don't know if he still does, but he used to have a lot of, what is it called? Sleep paralysis. He experienced a lot of sleep paralysis. So for any of you that may not know what that is basically when you're asleep and then you basically wake up from out of your sleep, but physically you are paralyzed. Yeah. Completely. You cannot move, you cannot talk, you almost can't even breathe, I've heard. I've never experienced it. All this I know from people that have experienced it, and they tell me their experience. And most of the time, I want to say, some people, well, not most of the time, some people are able to have their eyes open. Others can't even open their eyes. Yeah. So I want to say with my son's dad, he would not have his eyes opened, but the way y'all explain it, because I think you've experienced it too. Yeah, he would have his eyes closed, but he always explained it like he had his eyes open because he could see. Like, he could see the room and he could see something on top of him. Yeah.
But his eyes were physically closed, but he could see it. Oh, that gives me goosebumps just talking about it.
That's wild.
Yeah. And so he would have those a lot. And obviously, like, we lived together, we slept together. And the thing with that is, también when people have told me about it, it's like you are trying to literally scream, but you can't. Like, you're literally paralyzed. Like, if someone has put complete anesthesia over you, but you're fully aware.
Yeah.
And so when he would do that, I would sense it, because I don't know if he actually was like, because he would make that noise like, and I don't know if that was him actually doing it or that was just me sensing him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But either way, like, I would hear the but not loud and clear, like, and we would both be dead asleep. Like, I would be dead in my sleep, and I would just kind of hear the but like far away and like very, very low. And I would kind of wake up, and I could feel him, and then he also that would they're bomberos.
That's creepy.
Right on cue. There's a firehouse.
Oh yeah, a firehouse.
A firehouse right next to my apartments, and we just heard the firefighters turn on their sirens. So.
But it just sounded like someone screaming.
In case the video didn't pick up.
I'm a little too into these spooky stories.
But yeah, so I don't know. Long story short, I could sense he was trying to move, trying to talk. It was like I said, he couldn't move, but I could sense it. I don't know how to explain it other than I could sense it. And like I said, it would wake me up out of my sleep.
Yeah.
But he wasn't moving and he wasn't talking because he couldn't. But it would still wake me up out of my sleep. And I remember the very first time I like sensed that, I kind of brushed it off and I was like, oh, he's probably just having like a bad dream. And I just put my hand over him because I know like that always made me feel better. If I was having a bad dream when I was like little and I slept with my mom, and it's when like you wake up, you're scared, and then it'd be like, Mom, hug me.
Yeah.
And she would, and it would completely go away. And so that's just where my mom would always go to. And so I would always either turn around and fully cuddle him, you know, like hand, leg, and like big spoon him.
Yeah.
Or if I just wasn't in the mood, I would literally be like face up, and I would put my arm that was closest to him over him. And then it would just stop, and I would just knock right back out, and I would be dead asleep. And I didn't know that helped them until kind of later down the road, because then after that it became a habit. I would always sense him doing that, and I always just figured he's having a nightmare, because he's also very prone to nightmares. He has nightmares all the time. And so I just always figured, oh, he's just having a nightmare, like, let me help him out, put my hand over him. Well, come to find out, no, he was actually having sleep paralysis. He would see some sort of like dark, heavy entity on top of him. And that was his way of like, he would try to scream and talk and move to like, you know, and he couldn't. And he said like the second my hand would touch him, it was like it just disappeared. And even like he said that even the sense of like being scared would go away, and he would just go right straight to sleep.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And like I said, that I didn't find out until not too long ago, that he would be like, oh yeah, that's when I would have sleep paralysis, and you would put your hand over me and it would go away. I was just like, that one kind of shocked me. I was like, oh, like I always thought it was just like a regular nightmare, but no, like he would have, and he would, the way he describes it, like he had very bad sleep paralysis, like a whole entity like on top of him, and he would see it.
That's wild.
And as soon as I would just put my hand over him, it just disappeared. And again, I mean, I know that's how sleep paralysis is. Like only one person experiences it. It's not like the entity's there and like the whole room feels it. No, it's just that one person. But I never felt anything. And like you said, the fact that just me putting my hand over him made everything literally disappear. And not just the entity, but like the fear. Because he would tell me when he would be asleep by himself, like before we moved in together, that would happen. And then when you wake up, like you're scared to go back to sleep. And usually you stay awake for a few minutes or even a few hours. And then eventually fall back asleep. And he said that wouldn't happen. Like when I would touch him, like I said, it would just immediately go away and he would be able to go to sleep.
That's crazy.
As soon as like my hand would go over him.
You see, this is why I believe what she's saying, because like The fact that you can even help somebody else do that, I don't know, dude.
I know. And on top of that, like, me and Ellie are firm believers of all this, like,
supernatural life, all that. I'm a firm believer of it.
Yeah, of the other realm. And I will die on that hill that I think I'm just extra protected, and I think I'm able to help some people sometimes, you know. And sometimes I don't even realize that's what I'm doing. But yeah, that's the one thing I experienced when I was little, and then something that I experienced but at the same time didn't experience with my son's dad.
Yeah, I had my sister experience something similar to that.
Oh my god, her sister one, even just, dude, I just thought about it, like, I got goosebumps because I can't imagine being y'all and hearing that. No, thank you.
Oh my gosh, dude. Okay, so whenever we lived in our last house, it was a 5-bedroom house, and the room where this happened to her, I first started sleeping in that bedroom first. That was my first original bedroom. So I remember whenever I first used to sleep there, I would sleep by myself, and I had my twin bed. I had it on the far corner, and I always had to sleep with my back facing the wall, right? And I always had to be basically with my face towards the door, the closet door, which was on the opposite side of where I had my bed placed.
And basically, like, your back had to be against the wall.
Right.
Where nothing could be behind you.
Yeah. And I always had to be looking at that very specific corner where that closet was. And I was terrified all the time going to sleep. So I'd be scared until I'd fall asleep. And nothing ever happened to me in that room. Like, I never, like, other than being scared, I never saw anything, never felt anything other than that, right? And this was like the first house that we lived in, so we were also used to, like, sleeping together. So I was used to always sleeping with my mom and my other sister. So whenever we first moved in, I slept with my mom, and then I went upstairs to my room. And because I guess we were all so comfortable sleeping together, after a while she ended up going up to my room, and she had her colchon in there. A few years later, my sister moves out, and when she comes back, I basically took over her room. So it was a room right in front of mine, and she ended up taking my old room, right? So whenever she came back, she was asleep with her boyfriend at that time, and I woke up in the middle of the night because I heard her screaming, like, loud. Like, that shit terrified me. Like, I thought somebody, like, broke into the house or something.
So, like, you could tell it was a scared scream.
Yes.
Just not just like a it was like
it sounded like a terrified scream.
Bro, my body
so
full of goosebumps.
I, like, get out of bed, I run to my door, and her boyfriend opens the door, and I was like, what's going on? And then he's like, she's okay, she just had a nightmare. I'm like, okay. But, like, everybody in the house woke up. Okay, everybody heard her, including my mom, who slept downstairs. Okay, so we go back to sleep, and it happens a second time, dude. And the next day, like, my sister tells me about it. She was saying that she basically had, like, a sleep paralysis, where she literally had her eyes wide open, and she could see, like, a very tall, dark figure kind of coming close to her and kind of trying to, like, get on top of her. Like, bro,
no thank you. Absolutely.
So,
like, I cannot even imagine experiencing that. Y'all are some strong souls, because it may sound like I'm just, like, trying to be funny, but, like, I deadass think I would have a heart attack.
I probably would too.
I feel like you've never had?
I've never had one. My sleep paralysis, my eyes have always been closed, and I've never been able to see anything. So, like, my mind is awake. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've noticed that when that happens to me, I tend to cry. Why? I don't know. Like, I don't feel scared. It's just like I can feel myself trying to move and trying to open my eyes, and I can't, and I start crying.
Okay.
And I wake up with, like, my eyes, like, those llorosos, and, like, I'm, like, crying. Yeah. But I don't feel scared.
Okay.
Yeah. That's, like, other than that, like,
you've never experienced, like, the dark entity?
Yeah.
Because I have heard a few stories that a lot of people actually see the same entity.
Yeah.
When they like, because people get online and like describe their experience, and a lot of the ones that are able to describe what they see, like it sounds the same of like what the entity looks like, what like the details they can make out of it. They kind of all
I never like thought that they could make out any figures. Like I just thought it was like just so like dark that you can't even see.
I think it all depends, because I think people all experience different things.
That's wild though. Yeah. That's creepy.
Hella creepy.
But
that's what I mean. Like, no, thank you. And whatever I have on me, whatever your beliefs may be, at the end of the day is I'm protected. Thank you. I'm gonna stay that way.
But no, like the things that we all experienced in that house is wild. Because I mean, you did too with my sister. But I covered it up trying not to scare y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she just told me not too long ago, too.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Yeah. So, again, we used to have a bunch of sleepovers in the summer, and we wouldn't just stay with her mom. With her dad. We would also stay at her mom's house. And I think this was one of those summers where I stayed at your mom's house.
Yeah. And this was during the time that I was still sleeping in my mom's room.
Okay.
And you and Janet slept in her room, which ended up being my room at the end. So you slept with Janet and my sister in the room that I ended up in towards the very end. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't even remember the specifics, but I think we were obviously up because we stayed up so late, and we were like talking and laughing and stuff, and then we just hear footsteps coming up the stairs, because y'all stairs were very squeaky, like certain ones, but the ones that were squeaky were like super squeaky, so like you could hear it. And we heard somebody coming up, but it didn't sound like anything scary. Like, we didn't get scared. We just heard it, and we were like, oh shit, we're being too loud. We had thought we woke somebody up, and they were coming up to like tell us to like be quiet. Yeah. And we probably thought it was your mom, because during the summer she still worked. Yeah. And so it was usually during a weekday, and obviously we didn't want to be rude and like not let her sleep. Right. So we were like, oh shit, like we just need to be a little more quiet. And then like we like turned our volume down. And I don't know, did we ask you if it was you?
Y'all asked me if it was me. And then I was like, yeah, because I knew that it was nobody else, and I didn't want y'all to get scared.
So come to find out, we heard footsteps loud and clear, and it was nobody.
Yeah. And in that house, we would always hear things like just like falling, like upstairs in the front living room or the front dining room or whatever. And we would go and check, like nothing was like moved, nothing was misplaced, nada. And it would sound like if it was, I don't know, like, but it was just always something heavy. And
you just hear like blump to the floor. And then y'all would go check, but everything was in place. Yeah. The one también that was kind of creepy is one time we were having a party. Don't remember if we were celebrating someone's birthday, Mother's Day, something. The family was there.
I think it was either for Thanksgiving or Christmas, something like that.
Okay. It was a celebration. Yeah. A lot of us were there. And your mom's brothers, I think 2 or 3 of them had gone that time. Yeah. And some of our tios had gone from your dad's side of the family too. So I remember one time we were there in the kitchen, all just chilling, talking, obviously, you know. And then one of our tios like randomly goes to your mom, oh, creo que something about like, creo que otro de tus hermanos acaba de llegar. ¿Cuál? You know, because your mom has hella brothers. Yeah. So my uncle was just kind of like, oh, like who's here? And I remember everybody just being like kind of confused, because we were like, well, I mean, no one knocked, no one, you know, because he had specifically mentioned that he saw someone walking from one side of the house to the other on the front side. Yeah. And the way we were sitting, you could see it through a hallway. And he said he saw it clear as day, obviously, and he thought it was one of your mom's brothers. And then we were like, well, maybe, like, I guess somebody came in. We just didn't hear the door or something. We went to go check. Nobody was there.
And I remember him saying that it was some, like, he was wearing, like, a plaid shirt or something.
A plaid blue shirt. And it was a guy.
Yeah. And nobody in the house was wearing a plaid blue shirt.
And it was so funny because he tried to play it off so bad. He was just like, oh, like, I just must have seen it, like, whatever. Because, you know, like, I feel like people always try to play it off like, oh, it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. Right. It's like, nah, you saw what you saw. Yeah. You're just trying not to spook yourself. But yeah, that happened there too. In that house, I always felt scared. That's the only thing. I was always scared. I hated being by myself when it was late at night. Like, if Janet had to go pee, I'd be like, I'm coming with you. It wasn't even the other way around, like when you're the one that has to pee, you're like, come with me. Nah, she'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go pee, I'm coming with you. Like, I don't care, I'm not staying in this room by myself, no matter what room it was.
The part that would always scare me was going up or down the stairs if the lights were off.
Dude, has Janet told you about that?
Yeah, you told me about it too.
She was such a hoe ass. So, like with any house, there's a light switch at the top and at the bottom. And we were coming down the stairs, but she had gotten like more space for me, so she was already downstairs and I was at the top. And just saying, oh, el cucuy, like that, I cannot, because that's the one thing that I am so scared of. Like, the devil, a demon, like whatever you want to put, whatever kind of name you want to put on it, pero el cucuy. I cannot. No. Yeah. Thank you. Even just like saying the name, I hate it. But anyway, fucking hoe ass. I was at the top, she was at the bottom, and she goes, el cucuy, and just turns the light off. When I tell you, I flew down those stairs. And it was so funny because I probably stepped only like 3 times, and there was a good like 15 steps.
Yeah.
It was so funny because she had turned to the light switch, turned it off, like said el cucuy, turned it off. By the time she turned back around, I was already next to her,
bro.
And she was like, oh, you ain't playing, like you scared. I was like, don't play with me like that.
I remember I scared one of my sisters. She was taking my nephew a bath in the shower upstairs, right? And she didn't know I was home. And I think she was the only one home during that time too. So she didn't know I was home. And I came and like peeked in there, right, in the restroom. And she was facing the shower, so she didn't see me. But my nephew, the way that the restroom is set up, it's like the shower. If you're facing the opposite direction, the door's right there, right? So I peeked my head in there and I saw him and he saw me. And I smiled and I like waved at him. Right, and then he waved right back at me, and I like ducked back behind the wall, and my sister turns around, and there's like a balloon like on the other side of the wall, right? Because that restroom was right outside the living room or the game room upstairs, right? And there was a balloon there, and she tried to play it off. She was like, "Oh, le estás diciendo hola al balloon, papi." I just started laughing, and I'm like, "Don't try to play it off. I know you were scared."
She's like, nah. If I don't say it's that, it's not that. No, for sure, that house had some darkness to it.
For real.
Like, everyone felt it. It just felt heavy. It felt scary. And obviously, people always experience shit there.
Right. I remember one of the scariest ones I experienced. I was in my room. It was late at night. And I was up, like, being on Tumblr or something like that, right? And my dog, she stood like right in front of me, right? Because sometimes like I wouldn't want to be on my bed, so I sit on the floor next to her. She stood right in front of me, and she looked at the corner by where my closet was, which was the darkest part of the room, actually. Ironically, because there's a window that was always facing that closet. Weird. Right? And her hairs stood up, and I have never heard her growl so nasty. Like, I was terrified when she did that, bro.
No, thank you. But you didn't like hear, see anything? But she did.
Yeah, and that wasn't the first time that's happened to me. It happened to me at my dad's house too. And
with his dogs.
Yeah, with his dogs. In the apartment where he lived in Humble.
The U?
Yeah, the apartment that was in the shape of the U.
The one we just talked about.
Right. So I was there one summer by myself. And I never liked sleeping in the rooms. I would sleep out in the living room whenever y'all weren't there with me.
That's crazy, because I've always thought the living rooms is scarier than a room, because I I don't feel as protected, because in a room you can close the door and at least you have a smaller space. The living room is just open.
But I also felt safer because I was closer to my dad's room, and I was further out over there. And the room, farthest room on that of that hallway, was the one that creeped me out the most.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, no. And the same thing happened to me. I was up watching George Lopez super late at night.
Just that alone, that tells you it's hella late. At least past 2 a.m.
Yeah. And my dad's dog, he got on me, like on top of my legs, dug his nails on my legs. His hair stood up and he faced towards the comedor, you know, like where that hallway is in like the dining room.
Right.
In that area specifically, he faced towards that side and he started growling and barking, dude. I was just like,
no, thank you. Dogs also have a heavier sense for that.
Yeah.
Which is, you know. No, thank you.
That apartment alone, we experienced so much shit. Like, that's the same apartment where my dad had told me that he was in the shower and he thought that his girlfriend at that time had hopped into the shower with him or something like that. But he felt like he kind of like scratched him.
Oh, that one? Back. Yeah. No, dude, that one's crazy because that one actually left scratch marks on him.
Yeah.
He, at that time, he said that he was showering and he was, I think, taking the shampoo off of his head. So he was facing the shower head.
And he had his eyes closed?
And he had his eyes closed.
Bro, this is why I don't close my eyes in the shower. If I'm scared and I need to wash my face, I'm washing my face with my eyes closed. I don't care if my soap burns my eyes, but...
Yeah, no, that's just scary. Yeah, he said he had his eyes closed and he was facing the shower head because he was taking shampoo off, and he was doing that, and he said that he felt like a scratch, like if someone just went on him and went like that. But I don't think he said it hurt like a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why he thought it was his girlfriend. And he was like, oh, like, did you just come in here and like scratch me? I don't know how he asked it, but something like that.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I didn't. And he was like, yes, you did. I just felt you. And she was like, look out here. Apparently she was in the restroom, but she was doing her makeup and she had a long sleeve shirt. So she was like, look, I'm wearing a long sleeve. It's not wet. I didn't just pull it down. Look at my hands are dry. I'm doing my makeup. I didn't touch you. And then I guess when he came out and she saw his back, he had like
a scratch. Bro, that's wild.
Like nail scratches. I don't know how long the scratch itself was.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep, but nonetheless he had scratches.
Yeah. I remember in that same apartment, he said, we weren't there at that time with him, so I think we were like all in school or something. And his girlfriend at that time was at work. So since he was a maintenance man in that same apartment building too, he was, I don't know if it was before work, right after work, or during his lunch break, something like that. But he was at home. He was in his room. And he felt like something threw him onto the bed and was like on top of him. And he was trying to pray out loud and he couldn't. Like, the only thing that would come out was like growling sounds. Like, he couldn't make any words. So he had to like pray in his head, and he said that even then, like, he would lose some of the words. But it, like, a few moments later, like, it lifted off of him. But
I'm telling y'all, her dad has the craziest fucking stories because he doesn't just hear shit, see shit. He gets attacked.
Yeah.
He physically gets attacked. And I don't know how he does it because hell no.
I'd be fucking terrified.
Hell no.
I don't know how he hasn't gone to that priest that you went to, because
right?
Hell no.
Yeah, absolutely not. No, thank you.
Yeah. And he also said that in that same apartment, he was in the living room watching TV. Again, he was by himself. And that he said that he saw coming from his room out into the living room, like the carpet was just moving, and it was like in waves. And it picked up my dog.
That's fucking crazy. Like, how does that even fucking... like, shit that happens to him is straight out of horror movies. Like, no joke. It's things that you're like, nah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's happened to him. I remember I had asked him, I was like, Theo, like, did you just start experiencing this as an adult? Because, like, this is a lot. And he's like, no, mija, desde que he estado chiquito. He told me about this one story that he was out with his younger brother, and that they passed this like house, I think, and it was, I want to say maybe abandoned. And he said it was late at night, and that he just remembers seeing dogs, like they were there, like if they were actual dogs, but he could tell they weren't real dogs because of how they looked, and that he's till this day he's never heard a growl that nasty, and that there was 2 of them, and that they chased your dad and his brother, my uncle.
What the fuck? I've never heard. I don't think he's ever told me this one.
I want to say that's if I'm remembering correctly, that's one, if not the first experience he had, one of the first, like one of the earliest, and that was out in Mexico.
That's crazy.
But see, okay, so we've been talking about her dad a lot because I think that's the one that has like the wildest experiences, but like my mom also experiences a lot of shit. I want to say, I don't know if my grandma has, or our grandpa, but I know for sure our great grandpa, so our grandma's dad, he experienced a lot of shit.
Yeah.
They say that, you know, cuando contaba sus historias, que he would be out in the rancho, you know, working, and he wouldn't get home until like late at night, and that whenever he would be walking, because, you know, back then it was like no había tantas casas de edificios, it was more like just land, that he would be walking pitch dark because, you know, no street lights or anything, and it was almost like bosque porque es pura naturaleza, y que escuchaba la llorona.
What?
Que él escuchaba los llantos de la llorona.
That's wild. That's scary, dude. In the middle of the night?
Basically in the middle of the woods?
Hell no.
Yeah. No, thank you. So, yeah. Me and Ellie always say this. Like, we feel like our family is a little extra
sensitive to that kind of thing, or can pick up that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I always view it as like we're extra connected, because I feel like a lot of our family also has abilities that I don't really want to go into detail right now, but you know, we have abilities. Quite a few of us. Yeah. Some practicing, some not. Some get scared of it, and others are kind of like more embrace it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I remember this one was actually recently, and I was at one of my friend's house, right? So both of my friends, they both lived together, right? And they had invited me over. We were just gonna chill, drink, you know, that sort of thing. And during that, at one point, I had actually gone into the restroom. So the way that their place was set up was they had their both individual rooms, and in the middle they had a restroom.
Okay.
Right? And so obviously each room had a door that led into the restroom, right? And in the restroom there was a window, so you could get like light in from outside, right? Okay, sorry. Let me backtrack. Sorry. Retract. So we were all in one of my friends' room, and one of my friends said that he was going to go to the kitchen to go grab some food or something. And me and the other friend, we stayed in the room, we were talking. He comes back into the room, and then he asks me, did you go into the kitchen with me? And I was just like, no, like I haven't even gotten up. He was like, are you sure? Because like I could have sworn I literally just saw you like in the doorway of the kitchen. And I was like me, like you saw me, like my hair and everything? He was like, yeah, like I saw you. I was just like, no.
No, thank you.
So after that happened, he got up afterwards to go get more oranges, because that's what he ended up getting. And I had gone to the restroom, right? So my friend, she had left her light on in her room, right? And she had left her door open from the restroom. So, and because like I knew like nobody was gonna go into her room, I kind of didn't bother or closing her door, and I just closed the door where I knew that my friends were gonna be in. Yeah. And I didn't turn on the restroom light because the light was on. I had enough light, you know. So I'm using the restroom, and the light turns off from the room, But I'm like, it's okay. I have the light coming in from the window and I can see. It's just fine. Except her room was super dark. And whenever I was washing my hands, I would have to have my back towards her room, her door. And I just felt terrified to do that. I'm like, I cannot do that. Like, I just can't have my back to that door.
The one that was open.
Yeah. So I washed my hands real quick. And I was looking at the doorway the entire time. So I'm like, ain't no way I'm going to have my back towards that door. I come out. And I ended up asking them, like, did any of y'all turn off the light? They're like, no. Like, and one of them thought, like, the light was never on. I'm like, yes, it was. It was on. I went in and someone turned it off. They're like, no. I was just like,
Never mind, I asked.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, thank you. Oh.
No.
Was that the latest thing you've experienced? Latest?
The latest one? No, it was actually with us. With you and my sister.
Oh, I was like, what are you about to say? Don't bring it up on me. Oh
no, nothing here. But no. Okay, so not that long ago, me, Dulce, and my sister, we went to the park and we were already doing our little activities. And we were drinking, and whenever we were coming back, my sister was just like so paranoid, and she did not want me to walk behind her. Like, she was terrified of me walking behind her.
But the funny thing is, like, as we were walking, Ellie was right behind her. We were kind of like in a triangle.
Yeah.
Janet was in the front, Ellie was in the back, and I was kind of like in between them, but like on the side.
Yeah.
And we thought it was so funny because Janet, when she gets under the influence, like when she's been drinking, she'd be saying some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And so she just kept saying, Ellie, stop touching me. Why are you touching me?
Yeah.
And so I remember me and Ellie were like cracking up because we were like, oh, here it goes. Like, she's going to start. Because no one was touching her. And like, we were at a, like, even if you stretched out your arm, I don't think you would have reached her.
No.
Like, no one could have touched her.
Yeah.
We were all like at a good spread out pace.
Yeah.
But she swore up and down, and like she kept, like, she was getting mad. She was like, stop touching me. I can feel you touching me.
Yeah. Like, she was saying I can feel you in my spine. And that's what made it even more funny.
Right.
But no, dude, like, I was so confused about like her just saying that, because I'm just like, I'm not even anywhere, like, I'm not touching you.
Right. Like, I'm not even near enough to touch you.
So like, I even looked at you and I was like so confused, and I was like, and right after that, I even like looked over at my hand, dude. And I kid you not, for like a split second, whenever I looked at my hand, I couldn't even see the grass. I couldn't see the fence. That was like basically the background of like how my hand was. And it looked like my hand or my arm wasn't even my arm. Like, it low-key freaked me out. It looked like the arm was like skinnier. The fingers were like a lot longer and thinner. Like, and everything just looked dark. I don't know. It creeped the fuck out of me, though. And then I looked over back at you, and I remember, like, you had said that I got so serious, and I was just like, I went from like, I'm not even touching her, to like, I'm not touching her.
Literally. And it was like a split second change. And I remember I was like, and I even asked her, I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm just not touching her. And then Janet ended up making her walk in front of her because she was like, I'm uncomfortable with you being behind me right now. And I remember I just saw Ellie's energy change so much, but in the moment she didn't tell us she saw that.
Yeah. I just didn't want to. Like, I was already scared. I wasn't gonna make y'all scared too.
Right. And I'm not gonna lie, like, in the moment I didn't think any of that. I just thought you were almost like getting mad at Janet for because she kept saying I'm touching you, so I thought you were kind of like annoyed / mad at her. But yeah, your energy changed like that. Quick. It was like to stop, but almost like not a mad, but just very serious, you know. And I was like, I mean, we're already kind of feeling it, we're under the influence, we've been drinking, let's just So I kept just like, you're just so crazy, like trying to keep the mood up.
Yeah. But
and then you told me not too long ago that that's what you saw. I was like,
yeah, I told her too. She was like, you see, that's why I didn't want you walking behind me. I'm like, but I swear I didn't touch you. Like, I was nowhere near you.
Yeah, that's.
But I don't know.
Something was touching her just in the other realm.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
To be continued.